So the whole purpose of this, you guys, is I promised you I would do this quarterly so that we could get together, have a refresh, see one another face to face instead of just in the Facebook group, and talk about where you are, what your goals are, maybe what you're struggling with, and then reflect back upon where you were when you started. Because for me, the marvelous thing about watching your progress is in the beginning, there was this trepidation, lack of confidence, can't do it, not getting there. And then over this period of time, the confidence grows, you get more smiles, you start feeling better about it. And then the joy that comes after you've done it for a while, which Debbie expresses all the time because she posts a lot. So thank you for doing that because it encourages other people. And I
Well,
know they're
you're
feeling
welcome.
it, but they're not all expressing it. So floor is open, you guys. Just share, ask questions, whatever you'd like to do.
I can say something. I haven't been officially meditating as much as I do during the 21 days. However, I'm living at a level that's very different, deeper, following my wisdom, following intuition, listening to that inner voice in a way that is flowing uh, in a positive, energetic, magical way. Um, Yesterday, in fact, I for like the last month, I've had this feeling that I needed to contact a college roommate. Um, and she lives over in the next state away from me. I'm gonna try not to say any details. She has no presence, none on social media, zero. I could not find her, her family, her daughter. I did find a picture of her daughter as a server, but no way to contact that person. I found, but what I did find was her mother's obituary. And in that obituary, I realized that we had another coincidence. Both of our mothers had passed within a month of each other. And our mothers were friends because we were college roommates, but then, kind of lost touch with each other. And so what I found fascinating was that I couldn't locate her. I had her phone number, but she had disconnected it. And as it turns out, she disconnected it a month ago, which is about when I started to have these intuitions that I needed to find her. And so, um, a fellow 21-day meditator had, we had been talking last week, and she said, I think you need to contact her. And I said, yeah, I know, I think I do too. So yesterday I started hunting for her. Well, found out the phone number was disconnected. And then I started hunting for her on social media. And it was one event after another of dead ends. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to just send her a snail mail. And because I think she's still at her old address. And then it occurred to me that I could call the funeral home and get a message to her through the funeral home, which I did. And about 2 hours later, I got a phone call from her while I was out in the woods. And we talked for an hour, and it was like we had been talking every day for the last 4 years. And we had both gone through so many similar experiences. Oh, I'm tearing up. So I don't think she now has a cell phone. She never believed in technology or cell phones. She only had a landline for years, and she rarely answered it. So now she has a cell phone and she actually texts. So I'm just simply amazed at how following that inner voice, that inner wisdom can produce such a magical experiences. So there, that's my
Beautiful.
experience.
And that's the thing. It's like just going through that process for most of us, I think we just leave it, even if you're not meditating every day, because you have life and it interferes. But it's like you just feel more connected all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about that that's just so comforting in the midst of all the chaos of the world. It's like we're walking a very different path from the average person, which is so
Mm-hmm.
magical and blessed. You described that beautifully. The synchronicities just keep popping up because the
Yeah.
angels pop up with the breadcrumbs to help us do what we want to do. And because we're now connected through that meditation experience, we're aware of the synchronicities. That's the huge
Mm-hmm.
difference, I think. They were always there. We just weren't conscious of them.
Yeah. And I knew I needed to contact her. Somehow knowing that her phone, when I realized that her phone had been disconnected, I find this interesting because I think we were connected even though we didn't talk through that existing phone line. I don't know how, but somehow my intuition must have known that we were then disconnected. And so we needed to reconnect. Anyway, we did it. It was magical. And I'm so very, very grateful. And you're right. I think listening, I have a different level of understanding of how the angels communicate with me and with others. And the following those breadcrumbs, following that energy, listening carefully and letting go of the negative stuff, you know, like I didn't get frustrated yesterday whenever I hit a dead end. I just realized that I needed to keep looking and the experience would open up. It's kind of like everything. It all if we follow it, it opens up and there we are. Perfect.
Yeah, there's such peace with that. It's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that because there will be people who watch this after the fact who don't understand, who haven't had that experience, don't even know it exists. And oh my gosh, that's so sad because it's a magical way to live. It's an easier way to live when you're in the flow
Mm-hmm.
because the angels will bring to you what you need. And I know when we talk about angels all the time, they think we're nuts. But look what has evolved from it. The ease of living, the peace, the joy. And who doesn't want more of that? Love the curls, by the way.
Can you believe how curly my hair is?
I don't think
It's
I ever saw it like that before.
I speaking of angels, I think my mother has something to do with this as an angel because she always knew my hair could be curly and it never was. And now it is. I don't know. It's
It's,
magical.
yeah, more magical God winks to delight you. That's wonderful. Judy, glad you could make it. Good to see your face. Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
Mute. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I hear you.
Good deal. I'm sorry I didn't RSVP. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do this, but as the time got closer, things opened up, and I'm just delighted to be with you all. I love your curls, Debbie. They're so pretty. When I was younger, I had really curly hair, and that makes me consider letting my hair grow longer and see if it would be curly again. But I'm reminded of the hymn that uh, when I was younger, and went my family went to Methodist church, but it was just as I am, and
Mm.
I feel like today I'd love to be able to say I'm meditating every day. I'm channeling and getting really good stuff. And the truth is that I've just been dealing with a lot, and yet, as you said, that connection of having done the meditation and going back to it, when I can, it and c- having learned to call in my angels, that I can't stress enough how important that is to anybody who's just starting or anywhere on this journey, is don't ever forget to do that, and let them support you when you don't feel that you can support yourself. Uh, my daughter had a stroke a few weeks ago, and so it's a tough period of time, and taking her to therapy appointments and trying to stay positive, and remembering to call in angels and to support the team of angels that I know is working with her, has helped so much. And I find that that sometimes even when I haven't meditated and channeling, after meditation, which is what I would usually do, I find that words come to me that aren't mine. That I was texting with my granddaughter the other day, about how her mother, my daughter, was doing it, and other things of how she was doing, and the words that came weren't mine. They it, and it It's humbling, and I'm so grateful for that kind of power that comes through, when you need it. And I'm so grateful to you, Deborah. I hope that anybody who watches this later, or anybody who has an opportunity to do the meditation challenge, you owe it to yourself, and to your life's purpose. I hearken back to that a lot. Um, it Being able to do what it takes to fulfill the purpose for which, each of us individually and collectively were born into this life, um, is there just isn't anything to me more important than that. And I hope you know what a blessing you are to all of us, and potentially to everybody who takes advantage of it. Your books are there. The meditation book has been just gold to me. It was one day that it was just a rough day, and I sat down and did I think it's called In the Midst of Chaos meditation, from the little book of meditations, and I, it was so powerful, and it helped me so much.
Glad.
And so that, those resources are there for us, and I'm so grateful for them. And I continue to do, daily practices, and um, uh, healing for Gaia. One thing that I've just been drawn to, when I do at least a brief meditation at bedtime every night. When I'm not able to do anything else during the day, I do that, and I visualize and invite other light workers to dance with me on the ley lines of the earth, to relieve that pressure for Gaia, and to spread seeds of light and healing and joy, just holding hands and dancing and being together in joy and service to Gaia, and to help the earth ascend, help all those light workers lift up, and uh, get the higher perspective that the meditation challenge has helped us to see, and just for that to be part of the fabric of your being, thanks to the meditation challenge. And I did review I keep a journal of meditation and our gatherings, and I'm just so struck by is just what we need to hear and experience. experience. And I'm so struck by the value of that. And I am dedicating myself to start a new challenge on my own. 15 days, and the guidance for each day is so beautiful, from Metatron and your notes. And you know, we can all find 15 minutes a day, and I dedicate myself to do that anew.
That's wonderful. We'll post about it in the group because you'll inspire others to join you.
You bet I will.
Yeah. It's a great antidote when things are just not going right to help you get back on
Oh,
track again. But even if you're
oh,
not doing a challenge, I mean, when you get into that energy of, oh my gosh, so frustrated, things aren't working, if you just pause, take a couple of deep breaths and say, hey, angels, I need a hug, whatever it is you need, just that couple of minutes connecting, that is massive in our lives.
it is. And setting uh, the intention of connecting with your guides and angels, and just asking them to be with you through this is life changing. Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. And of course, gratitude to Metatron because
Mm.
that's the source of all of this material. We've been
Ah,
so blessed by it.
yes, truly.
Yeah, thank you. So who else wants to talk?
Well, if I can, I don't know if somebody else wants to talk before me, but I am so grateful, first of all, to have found this group. And learning, because I'm still learning every day how to meditate and experience. I do meditate every day. One of the issues that I have is that I try to get into it so much that I fall asleep. And I don't want that. I want to be able to be awake with all my mind and know what to do. One of the things that I've done in my house to make sure that my house is peaceful all the time and whoever comes into the house can experience that. All the TVs that I have it on music that have high Zen music or meditation music. So that way I can have that throughout my house and lift the vibration also of my home to that. And that aspect, I'm also in that frequency. And it's unbelievable the things that have happened to me while I meditate. There's sometimes that it seems like I go through droughts, times of drought, and it's frustrating. But I also learned, you taught me how to look into nature for messages. And now I'm starting to look up, okay, I saw these 4 big white birds fly over me away. I went into Google and looked that up. Things that are coming to my mind, I'm starting to Google it, and I do have I've never used to record anything. I never had a journal. So I'm starting to, and looking up the angel numbers that come up. And there's one thing that's happening is that I do feel that peace, but at the same time, I have an internal fight of something from the past that somebody hurt me might pop up. And a bad thought will come, and I go, no, I can't have that bad thought. I need to release it and let it go. It's in the past. So that way, if I'm asking for something, if I'm asking for guidance, if I want to be in a good frequency, I can't think. I need to let go. So that has been happening. That hasn't happened in a long time. And it's starting like, it seems like something wants to break that frequency that I'm in. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, the thoughts that
Um,
you're talking about that are popping up, sometimes when they
and but I do meditate. I constantly meditate. Also, I noticed that I don't know. Can you hear me? Because you're okay.
you're going
Um,
in and out, but we're hearing you now.
okay. One day that I was meditating, and ever since that happened to me, I kind of froze. And I think that I have a block there that I need to let go. Is that I felt a pull from my legs, like I'm laying down and like this shock, and I was out of my body. But it was, for me, it was scary because I had never experienced that, and I was flying all over the place. And so I'm afraid, I guess I'm afraid I need to let go of that. I don't know how, of that experience of getting out of my body and then come back to it. Because it was kind of traumatic of how it happened, because I wasn't expecting that. And I don't know if that was right, but I'm always trying to be in tune. And then ever since I did the 21-day meditation, things are happening every day something new pops up. I have had those vivid dreams, but then there's times that I don't, that, like I said, I go through droughts. But I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful
Yeah. The
to
droughts
what's
are
happening, and
normal.
I'm noticing now that I'm sorry, the
The
droughts are
drought
normal.
the droughts are normal, happens to everybody because stuff is going on, you get distracted, you're not as connected. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of doing some breathing, reconnecting, and allowing to come through again.
Okay.
But
Okay.
don't freak out when you have a drought. It's normal. Ebbs and flows, remember? Metatron
Right.
talks a lot about ebbs and flows.
Right. You're right. You're right. So those are the things, but I'm just thankful because this experience has started a little bit over 2 years ago. And it started with my mother. So because of her, I was able to dig into and started connecting more to the meditation and knowing that not everything that I was taught was the right way. So um and I will never forget her question before she passed, a month before she passed. She was asking me, how did we meet? How did we come together? And that was a spin in my life. That's just a whirlwind of my life. Um, that's something that she would have never questioned while being totally connected to Earth. She was already in another level, another dimension. So I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. Just wanting to learn more, but I want things go faster. You know, it's like I just want to be able to close my eyes and just, okay, I'm right there. I'm here. Come on. And all my guides come and help me and let me see and let me envision. And so that's a frustrating part.
It will keep expanding, but the more you practice, the faster it expands. When
Okay.
you meditate, do you lie down or do you sit up?
There's times that I'm sitting and there's times that I'm lying down.
Yeah, I never lie down because I would fall asleep.
Okay.
So I always sit up. You try more sitting and see if that helps.
Okay. And I do feel when the minute that I start meditating, I started to feel warmth in my feet and tingling in my feet. That is always, always feeling that.
Well, you know, as you connect with your team, you are developing your own language.
Okay.
So for you, the tingling and the warmth in your feet, that's a signal from them Okay,
Okay.
we're connected. We're here. That's part of the communication.
Okay.
When
Okay.
something repeats like that, there's a meaning behind it. It's not just random.
Okay. Yeah. That, and the other thing that is starting is the noises like a bell or some kind of noise that I would hear, or I hear something drop somewhere, and I'm like, okay, so it's like trying to get my attention, and I'm doing that. But I do, and I also feel not only feeling the, I mean, just the bell. I will feel like somebody puts a finger on my ear and goes like this and pulls down. I feel the pressure. That I do feel. So
That's awesome. So
a
the thing
little
about being pulled out of your body, you can ask them, please don't do that again because it scared me.
bit. Okay.
If I'm going to travel out of my body, can we do it a little gentler?
Okay.
But just know that going out of your body just gives you a more expansive experience.
Okay.
So there's nothing to be afraid of. Is particularly if you've done your opening prayer, you're connected, you're
Mhm,
protected.
mhm,
So
mhm.
nothing to be
Okay.
afraid of. And
Okay.
once you allow yourself to go out of your body, you can have the most amazing experiences. You can go in outer space. You can travel to other planets. You can
Okay.
travel across the world. There's so much you can do.
Okay. I'm curious to do it, but it's like that kind of like that fear that I have, but I'll go ahead and let them know don't do it again. Because I'm sorry, Luna, you need to stop. Sorry, that's my dog that she keeps talking to me. Um, and I would love to experience it again, but it was like, I know that it's me who's holding me back because I was afraid of that. As of one time meditating, I just felt that I was sinking into my bed. So I kept feeling, like when you're going into the water and you're falling down and the water is rising. I felt that. Like, so I know that I'm in the right direction, but it's kind of sometimes things that I've never experienced before, kind of like fearful or things like that.
That's normal. So when you start to sink, do you get scared?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's good because sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down.
Mhm.
It's just you're protected, you're safe, so just go with it. There's a purpose to what you're experiencing, but you won't find out until you allow it to proceed.
Right. Because it feels like I used to love to swim, and I would swim on my back, and that feeling like when you're swimming and you're in the water like that. Because I have a drawn to water. I love the ocean. I can spend hours and hours and hours of looking at the ocean, but not any ocean. There's one ocean in particular, one coast in particular, that every time I went there, I'm like, oh, I'm home. This is where I need to be. So that's my goal now, that I need to move there. Because I know that that's my place in this world. That's my place. Um, and I just love it. I love the coast there. I can sit for hours and hours and hours just staring at the water and it's the only place where I can have my mind blank.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So when you do a meditation where they ask you to go to your happy place, is that where you go?
No, I just let them take me wherever.
Try doing that.
Okay.
And if you're having one of those droughts, in your imagination, put yourself in that place, in the water, feeling that,
Okay.
and then just allow it to expand from there. That'll probably get you through the drought faster.
Okay.
That's your key.
Okay. Okay. I see. I see. And there was one more thing that I was gonna ask you about too is oh, it just went away. Okay, maybe I'm not supposed to ask right now. But yeah, that those are the places that I know that I need to go, because it's since I wasn't a kid, I could spend hours there at the beach, at that particular beach, and spend hours there. Oh, I remember. Now what I'm trying to do, and break through that veil. Because when I close my eyes, constantly, automatic, everything is purple. And it moves, and there's a flow, and it moves. And behind it, as it opens up, I can see, like if it's sheets of a book, the pages of a book written, and the pages are like gold, like a yellowish, old yellow, like an old book. I can't see I mean, I know that there's something written. I cannot figure it out. But before it used to be little places, little spots. Now it's opening up more and more and more. I mean, it's getting wider where when everything is open. So I think I'm there. But I'm not really there yet. I haven't broken through that veil.
Well, reading a book is really hard for most people.
Mm-hmm.
So get creative. What could you do? You could ask your angels to read it to you. You
Okay.
could ask for an audio book. You could ask them to show you a movie of the book. All those
Okay.
different things that you could do to break through that. But
Okay.
what if that purple that you're seeing is your crown chakra, and that's symbolic of you moving through your crown chakra up to the Akashic records?
Okay.
So you're
I
doing
always see it as
more.
healing. It's like, 'cause it's so peaceful. It's just beautiful.
It is
Those,
beautiful, and you're
those
supposed
are.
to enjoy it. So it's unfolding very beautifully for you.
I just, I'm a Sagittarius, so I want everything fast, and everything in my life has been slow. No. Everybody's gotten there before me, even though if I started before, but I'm the last one to get there. I think they're doing it on purpose so I can enjoy the process.
Could also be a late bloomer like me. And that's okay. We get there when we get there.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm really
beautiful.
happy, and thank you for your guidance and for this wonderful group.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So, Elena, do you want to share?
Who, me? I always want to share. Anyway, things have been different. I kind of want to use that word because it, normally when I meditate, or just like when I dream, they're very vivid, they're very detailed, and I know what the heck is going on most of the time. And I've noticed over the last month or so that, like, even if I go outside, which usually connects me immediately to visions and my angels and guides and stuff, all I keep seeing is the color green. And then when I meditate at night, again, it's green, but it's the trees. And sometimes I will be laying on the ground, looking up at the sky, and all you can see are the trees. Sometimes I'll be hovering in the trees. And of course, I love trees. I get some phenomenal messages from them. But it seems to be kind of being one way right now. And I know there's some messages trying to come through because I think it was last week. I was sitting out on the sofa with Bear Heart, and I heard this crash in the kitchen. So I know it wasn't him. So I walked out here to see what the heck had crashed. And I had bought years ago, it's a plastic treat jar. And it's been empty, of course, for quite some time now. So it's just sitting on top of the refrigerator. Well, something or somebody knocked it off onto the floor. And I was like, okay. And of course, it got Bearheart's attention too, because he comes running out there to say, what, who's here, And then last night while I was laying in bed trying to tap in, all of a sudden I heard this chime. And at first I thought it was inner chime. But Bearheart heard it because he immediately, like, what? Who's here? And I was like, okay, so I'm not hearing things because he can hear it too. And it was just one. And it almost sounded like somebody had taken my tinctures and dinged them together and then stopped it. And I was like, okay, so and then the raven came in a couple days ago when I was sitting outside. Literally, I mean, because ravens are pretty good sized birds. And it swooped down in between the two buildings here, right in front of me, and then went up into the tree. And I was like, okay, that's another message that you guys are trying to get in touch with me, because the ravens are all about mystique and magic. And I'm like, so I know something's trying to come through. And that's one of the things I've been working on, is this clarity, because things are changing, the way I'm doing things, the way the path I'm on. And I've been asking a lot for the clarity to come through. But at the same time, it's like I'm getting the trees, which is great. I love trees. But it's like, hello, can you kind of like tell me what it is about the trees that I need to pay attention to, or do they have a message? So that's kind of where I'm at. It's like it's an ebb and flow. They're little different, information coming through, unless it's something really, really important, like when I have to go through and work with the net of light and Mahayina to get it, get the light around her so that it lifts her up even more. But other than that, it's kind of, it's kind of like that, kind of like in the ebb part is coming through, but it's not really making much sense right now.
How would you feel if Serge presented himself to help you?
And the phone rings. That's so funny. My phone never rings. Actually, I've been trying to contact him when if I stop and think about it, because it's something Mike and I talked about a couple weeks ago when we were doing the clearing. He was like, he gave you so much information, you recorded it all, you need to turn them into books and just get them, because he was talking about how he has his books up there on was it Kindle? And is that what it is? I think that's where he has
Yeah,
his.
that's the ebook, is Kindle.
Right. And so he was like, he gave you all this information for a reason. And that's why I had mentioned I need to get back to transcribing things, because I found one of them that I had written. He had done a meditation on the shadow self, and he had taken everybody in on a meditation to find your shadow self. And it was very interesting how people's shadows showed up. And a friend of mine was with me. And of course, after the meditation, he makes everybody share if they're open to sharing. And she still is a very much into her ego. So when he got to her to talk, to tell her, she was, oh, so, well, my ego or my shadow had this podium that it was sitting on, and it had the queen chair, and I was just sitting in there lording it over everybody. And I'm like, you do know that's not a good thing? But she was bragging about it because she thought it was really cool that she had this huge shadow that was lording it over everybody. And then when he got to me and he asked me what my shadow looked like, I said, it was kind of hard to tell because I could see right through her. I said, she's like a gray little figure that I could see through. And when I did it, I was transcribing that that class. And during the class, of course, the drumming put me back into the journey, and I got to visit my shadow again. And it was kind of cute because the bear showed up to to take me to go find the shadow, and I couldn't find her anywhere. And I went to pick up my foot and put it down, and I heard this tiny little tiny voice, please, don't step on me. And I'm like, what the heck? I looked down, and there was a 6-inch me that I almost stepped on. So it goes to show, working through all this stuff all these years, it does reduce the shadow. It helps release those the negative stuff that we hold on to, the past life stuff that we hold on to, because that's what our shadow is trying to teach us. It's, bringing in what we don't want to see. So it was showing me that it has, not only did it go from a normal size where you could see through it, she was down to like 6 inches. So it so, but I mean, it was the funniest thing. So that's why I love doing this work. But it does, like I said, there are those ebbs and flows where you just you feel like you're hitting a brick wall. You're getting tidbits here and there, but there's not enough cohesiveness to put it all together for it to really make sense.
Yeah, I get this visual of Serge walking up behind you and stepping into your body, joining with you to do work together.
See, that's what Mike was saying. He's like, you gotta, because he even had me get out all the workbooks that I wrote for Serge for our Shaman's Touch healing. And he's like, go through them, pull all the stuff out that you put in it, leave the stuff that he came up with or other students came up with. And he goes, start writing your own books. He goes, that's why he gave you that information. So even Mike felt it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like a heritage that was passed down to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So,
what I'm getting is, it's, you don't have to do this alone. He wants to help you. You have felt overwhelmed and alone.
yeah.
And maybe that's the big block. You just need Serge there to hold your hand, to say, let's go forward and do this. That, for me, that's like Metatron holding my hand, giving me the
Right.
confidence to overcome all the things that were holding me back. So it's time. You're ready. He's available.
And that's what the chiming and the throwing of the,
Well, the treat jar, yeah, that was him. I thought it might have been Medicine Bear, but I asked and I got that it was Serge.
yeah, because I didn't get it was one of the cats, but because at first that was my thought too, because it was a treat jar. That's where I kept
exactly
all her treats. And I was like, and I kept getting no. And I know somebody is around, because there's every once in a while, Bearheart will come up to me and he'll sniff my foot and he'll like, so I knew it's because he wasn't alive. This Bearheart wasn't alive when Serge was. I don't even think he met the original Bearheart. So he's, because he's coming more into his power now that Medicine Bear is gone. But yet he's still not quite sure how to handle it. Kind of like, when we all start out, we get these feelings and images, and like even with what Letty was saying, where she, spontaneous, you go out of your body and it kind of freaks you out. That's how I actually met my master guide years ago. I was sick and I didn't know I had fallen asleep. And I was sitting at the end of my bed talking to a hung papa shaman. Well, that's what Sitting Bull is. He was a hung papa soup. So it was so funny because it was so real. And it was real because I heard this loud, we'd been sitting there for quite some time and he was giving information. He was passing, the torch. With a lot of the Lakota information, and I heard this ringing, and I was like, "What the heck is that ringing?" And I turned around to see what the ringing was, and I saw myself laying on the bed sleeping, and it freaked me out. And I went immediately back into the body and woke up like, "What the heck was that?" So yeah, And then I answered the phone, and of course it was my friend that I told you about that has that huge ego. And she goes, well, it's a good thing I called that and woke you up. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, do you realize how much information I was getting? Why the heck did you have to call me? And she goes, well, sorry for, caring about you so much that I called to check and see if you were okay. But it's like, we do it a lot. We leave our bodies every night when we sleep, and we travel. So even during the day, during a meditation, whether you fall asleep or you just leave your body, it's okay, because we will come back. We have that gold thread that will bring us back into our body when we need to come back. But when you're first learning, it freaks you out, because I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting on the bed. Am I dead? Because there was my body, because I had such a high temperature. There was my body laying on the bed, and I was sitting on the end of it. I was like, oh my God. So we learn. I mean, and it's a learning experience. And I had totally forgotten about that until now. It's another story for Medium. So
That's why you're here, to keep bringing those stories out. Yeah.
it's
Awesome.
totally forgot, but I will, because I was being pushed again yesterday to find those tapes, and I think they're in the bottom of this huge container that I need to go through to pack or unpack so I can pack it properly.
But by the time you find them, you might have already recovered them all.
Well, I taped every single one of his classes.
Oh,
when
those
he
things.
knew,
Okay.
yeah, when he knew he was not well, because he had a stroke. We managed to get him through that, and he recovered 100% from that. And I think that, what do they call it, a TIA?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then he was on his way to Hawaii when he had that one, because that's part of where his heritage came from. But it was like a year later, he had a bigger one. And then you could start seeing some of the effects. And then he ended up being diagnosed with prostate cancer, which he knew he wasn't going to survive from. So that's when we decided we needed to get all his workshops recorded so that I could transcribe them and start writing the books from them. And I just kind of quit several years ago, and I don't know why.
That would
But
be
I'm
good to explore. Why?
Yeah, because now I'm being pushed again. You need to find those tapes and get them out.
Yeah, it could be it was a timing thing, and that's why he's showing up, to support you through that.
Oh, and it could be one of those ebbs, like even with meditation, when you go through those ebbs and flows, it's one of those. I had to explore different things. I went back to work full time.
You've also been doing a lot of healing through those years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So those layers needed to be dealt with to prepare you.
Yeah. So
That's exciting.
it is, but it was just so funny last night. I'm sitting here, and it was because I was reading. It's a book on witches and magic, and a cat, black cat, and they're cute because they take place in England. And I had forgotten I had the other book on my Kindle, so was reading it last night, and that's when I heard that ding! And I mean, Bearheart was sound asleep, and he just, what? And I know it was out here because he looked immediately out into from the bedroom into the living room. And I was like, so you heard that too? Yeah.
Well, you know how it goes. They step things up until they get your attention.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's a ebb and flow. Like I said, I do like a lot of times I always make sure I work with the net of light. And then sometimes if I'm guided, sometimes spirit will come in and they'll say we need pillars of light put in certain areas. So then I have to sit there and make sure the pillars come down however many they want in the certain areas. And sometimes it's in other countries, sometimes it's in this country. So I have to make sure that's all in place, and then I attach it to the net of light so that it can do its job. And sometimes that's all I do, because that's all they'll say they want done, and then they let me go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, some things are more subtle than others too.
Mhm.
So did you guys notice that amazing moon last night? Anybody spend some time with the
Mhm.
moon?
It was raining here, so no, it's the first time in 6 months we've had some rain. So I didn't get to see anything. It did finally drop well, when I got on this morning, I think it was finally up, it was 90 degrees and it's supposed to go up to 102. But after that rain yesterday, there was such a strong stench outside. I had to shut the doors, everything. I couldn't go out because it smelled so bad. And I'm not sure what that was from. I didn't hear what you said, Debbie.
Oh, she's muted.
Oh, here in the Midwest, it's been raining.
Give you the button.
Oh, now it looks like she
Said
froze.
you had, oh, I froze.
There you go. You're
Okay,
back.
now you're back.
Yeah, you know, I can't wait till we get fiber optic
I
installed.
know. Soon.
Yeah, soon, within the next couple months. I think that what you're probably smelling is the result of the rain, but it's usually worms or dirt that's that smell. We have it here frequently.
Oh, that's the first time I've ever smelled it here, but it was so putrid. I had to like make Bearheart come inside, and because he likes to sit on the balcony, and I was like, oh no, I can't take that smell.
Huh, that's interesting. Because I know we have that smell here in the Midwest in the early spring. So I don't know. Seems like it's something that the rain was bringing up for you.
Could be purging, because you're dealing here. We're dealing, of course, with the desert, so it's like, ugh. But I thought it was interesting that it came up, because that's the first time I've ever smelled it with heavy rains like that.
Well, what are the rains doing? They're coming and they're cleansing, purifying, right? So when you do that, you're washing away the rotten stuff. That would
Yeah.
cause a smell. So
Well,
that's
especially, yeah, especially in this
it's
complex.
cleaning.
Yeah. Yep.
Not always,
Interesting.
but cleaning.
Yep.
So this image, you guys, I made this with AI. Can you believe that? I
I
found
like it.
this breed thing and I said, I want the size. I told it what size I wanted. I said, I need something that can be a video background. I want it to be the Isle of Man because I was thinking of the stones. I want the megalith rocks. I want the sun coming up, shining on the rocks. And I forget what else I said, but it was just a sentence. And this is what it created for me, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, I love the AI, because I've done that because I'm starting a new website um, to get rid of VIX energy, because we're moving out of that.
Mhm.
And so I want to bring in the energy of who I was when I was the white buffalo calf woman. So I asked it to generate. And what I did is because you can literally ask it to generate it from scratch, or you can put a picture in and you can ask them to take that image in the picture and create a new image out of it. So I put me or my picture in there, several different, varieties, and then asked it to turn me into the white buffalo calf woman and make sure it put a white buffalo in the picture with me. And I love the videos. I mean the pictures, because it took, like in one of the pictures, it took the color of my shirt and it put it on her. So instead of her being all dressed in white like normal, she had a blue top on. but you could sit there and watch your hair grow. Like when I dance, how my friend would describe it, she goes, your hair gets a little darker. She says it grows longer and your white deerskin outfit comes out. And I'm like, I'm wearing jeans. And she goes, not when you dance. She says, you literally, this is what you turn into. So it was interesting to watch the AI do the same thing. It took that picture and changed it into what I asked it to turn me into. So I love it. And the Isle of Man, I actually had a lifetime there.
Yeah.
And yeah, which was because they told me in a meditation one day, and I was like, there's no such place called the Isle of Man. What are you people talking about? So I had to Google it. And sure enough, that's why I've been staring at that, because I'm like, I remember that. That's yes.
We have a megalith park here that was modeled after the Isle of Man.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's a special place.
yeah, it is.
That is so cool. Hey, Laura, welcome.
Hello.
We've all gone around and talked about our experiences and just general chatting. So would you like to share?
So general experiences about like channeling and stuff.
We've been talking about the experience that we went through with the meditation challenge, how it's changed our lives, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me think about that a second. Um, yeah, that I did it last January in 2023, and that was it. I think it really was a turning point for me because it connected me with people I hadn't connected with before. It had opened things up that I hadn't um opened to before. And it was really interesting because a little while ago I found on my oh sorry, that's my daughter's phone. There we go. Um, I found a channeled message. I'd asked my guides some questions, and this was back in June of last year. And when I found it a few weeks ago, I was shocked because I was like, oh my gosh, some of the words are
Yeah.
words that had been used in the last year. I was like, wow. Um, so that was really cool. Yeah, I think it kind of maybe it set me on a path that I wasn't aware of that I'm just now waking up to.
Well, it feels to me like it instigated this whole multi-layered healing process for you because so much has peeled away. You've understood yourself, gotten answers, clarity.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing, yeah, the most powerful thing I had received in that month that really shaped the year was when I found myself writing promises made, promises given, promises kept. I'm like, what promises? And I don't think it was right then. I think it came a little later, but what they made very clear to me was we promised. Because that was the thing. They were like, whatever needed to happen, we'd crossed that threshold. Because the thing they said was, we now know that we can keep this promise. Like it wasn't clear up until a certain point, but we now know that we can deliver on this. I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, the promise that you do not have to cross over to know who you are at the soul level, to know who you are as a soul. Because I just kept thinking, I can't wait until I cross over because I can be whole again and I'll understand what the heck this was all about because I don't get it. Just like
That
I
is
don't get it.
massive. Thank you for saying that because there will be people
Yeah.
who hear this who think the same thing. And oh my gosh, no. The whole point is connecting with your soul now.
Yeah, because that was their whole point, because they had been leading me to different people. Like, I started reading Paul Selig's book and his first book, and he talked about the upper room. The two things I remember from the little I read from that book was one, This is happening whether you know it or not. This book isn't going to suddenly make this happening. We're simply making you aware of what's happening so that because awareness can help navigate in it. I'm like, that makes sense. The second thing they said is the energies have been shifting, and you are finally in this lifetime able to access things we could never access before on Earth. The energies have shifted to a point where in this lifetime we can finally access our soul information, our and become one with my soul, and that was the most powerful thing I'd gotten, because I kind of see I've done a lot of healing work with this guy, but it was in those first 8 sessions that were like the big package thing, and then the rest was just kind of aftercare kind of stuff, I guess. But it was in that 8th session that my mom came, and she was revealing herself as she truly is as a soul. And then she invited me to blend with her. And by doing that, she was able to lift me to that soul level. And then both my mom and dad were able to reveal to me. Because what was weird about that particular session was I was being, memories of all the times my mom had gotten hurt were coming up. And I'm like, what is this? And what she was trying to show me was she, she had to experience those pains in order for her to become who she is now as a soul. And so by saying that, by showing me that, I was getting that what she was telling me, it's the same thing for you. You know, like all of these pains have made you what you are now. And then she was actually able to show me who I am as a soul right now. I was actually able to access that and be that for a little bit, and it was wild. But that's when I realized that's what I'd come here for. I'd come to heal this, yes, because that was kind of the homework, but what I really came here to do was to help other people wake up at the soul level and be free of the suffering from all of those lifetimes by recognizing by experiencing yourself. It's not about showing you something or telling you something. It's about helping people to actually experience themselves as a soul. And that's kind of cool. So,
Super cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And now you're making that a business.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was after that I got this thought. I wonder if I can help guide other people into embodied awakening. And then I went to Psychics Unite, and there was somebody who was not doing well. And I said, hey, can I try this with you? And she says, okay. And I was able to help her. And I was like, So then I thought, okay, if I can do this consistently with 20 women, I will start doing this professionally. And I think I actually did 30. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. And, that's been the interesting thing about this journey is my head is so much less out of the way, because that was also a part of the healing work, was learning to get into my body and be in my body, but also to partner with my higher self. And so it's been like a thought comes, and then the opportunity to pursue that thought opens up, and it's like, oh, okay. And so I remember I was like, okay, this idea came to do this program, and I had some experiences had come for me to be able to say some things in a certain way on Facebook. And then and they were like, you need to get ready for these people to come in. I'm like, oh, so I went into my Mighty Networks and fixed it all to represent this new thing. And then it was like a half hour later that my first yes came. I was like, interesting. And yeah, so it's just been this listening instead of me. I mean, yeah, I still get into the head space because, we're human and we're doing human things. So we have to think about things. But I'm much less into the how is this going to happen thing, and more into really listening and just letting it just kind of reveal itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
following the breadcrumbs.
yeah, really, it really is. Yeah, it's The journey's interesting, but
And
it's
it's so
working out.
perfect because, you know, as an entrepreneur, the successful ones I've noticed are the ones who learn something, embody it, and then teach it to others.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that was the funny thing because while I was in this nightmarish hell for 8 years or so, 7, I guess. People would in the beginning when things were really a mess, people would say to me, I truly believe that you're going to survive this and you're going to help people. And that became a real burden. I remember once talking with my friend who's was my therapist for a while. She says, "What if that isn't what you came here to do?" And suddenly my whole body just relaxed in relief. I'm like, "Thank you. Thank you for relieving me of that." Because it was not helping me. But it was when this shaman, well, he's an astrologer, when he looked at my chart and said, "You chose this so that you would learn to heal it. That's what you came here to do." I'm like, that makes sense. And actually, it was a surprise. And I was like, I have no idea how to do that. And of course, he had the way to do that. And so that's what it became. And it became this, it was just really beautiful how we both were seeing how the choices we had made over the years led us to this moment. And if we hadn't made the choices we had made, we would have had a very, very different experience. Um, And so I was just really grateful, and he was too, that we both were at a place where we were totally prepared and capable of doing the work that was in front of us because it was not easy and it was intense. It was really hard. But we did it. And it was after the healing, it was like, okay. It was more like I had been told my whole life that I was a healer, and I had tried to do a business and it was never worked. So I just kind of gave up on it. But it's more like he gave me the tools that actually work for me. Like, oh my gosh, I can finally do something with this. And women are having really powerful experiences. I 6 ladies said yes to me back in March. And I remember it was May and we were talking at one point. I'm like, we noticed that one person had really changed in front of us in the 2 months that we'd been working together. And that gave me a thought. When we got off, I took a still shot of our Zoom call that day. And then I went back to the Zoom calls that we'd done in March and took a still shot of 2 of those meetings in March, and I could see physical differences in every single one of them. I was like, wait, this actually works? Like, what is going on? And so they've been my opportunity to learn what this thing is that I've stumbled upon and what it can do. And I think I'm learning that by just taking the steps in front of me as they present themselves, I'm going to learn more and more about what this work is and what it can be, and it'll grow as I grow, and that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, that makes sense because when you teach, you learn.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what strikes me also? What you went through in that approximately a year's time, if you had been doing that healing through traditional therapy, it could have been decades and you might still not have been healed.
Well, that was the whole thing. Because I had grown up in Christian Science, and I had seen so many healings, and I had no doubt that it worked, but it didn't seem to work for me. Although my mom would say, "Laura, you've had more healings than you think you have." And I would acknowledge that. The problem was I didn't know that I was associative. So I literally wasn't present for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so, it became really hard. And it was hard for me to understand why I was still struggling and still struggling. And then when it became clear what happened, I actually had a friend who said she's a practitioner and she had a friend who had recovered childhood memories and she was able to handle it in Christian Science, and that was great. But I knew it was not going to work. Like, not this. And so suddenly I had to go the medical route, which was a whole new world for me. And they taught me things that I needed to learn. There were things I needed to learn about behavior and about social interactions and things that I did not know. And I learned a framework, and I learned some ways to cope and to just make sense out of what I was experiencing. But I remember, the consensus was that with dissociative identity disorder, the best you could hope for was cooperation among the parts. Now, I knew that I was a spiritual being. I knew that I was more than this. So I knew that at some level I was whole. Just not, I wasn't experiencing that wholeness in this experience. And so I was, but I knew it, but I couldn't, what didn't help me. So then when things got so bad, and I tried energy work and tried all these things and they're just getting worse, I was like, this is what, I'm done. I can't, I could not see a way to move forward. And then I knew my higher self was guiding me through that whole summer. I could see it. Um and so then that day that she's like, go get an astrology session, I was like, what? But there she was. She knew something I didn't know. And I wasn't going to know until I talked with this guy. And so I could see how they had put all the pieces together to make that happen, just over the months. And then, when he's like, all right, we have completely unburdened and integrated that part, I was thinking, no, that's impossible. No, yes, something happened. Yes, some healing took place, but I reserve judgment on that one because I don't believe you. And then it took a while for me to understand what was happening, and that I really had integrated a lot of these parts. And that was just something I didn't even know was possible. But I'm really glad. I'm really glad that he was able to do that, and that he will help me learn how to do that, because it has changed everything for me. So, and
So,
of course, clearly that was part of the soul plan. That this is what was
yes.
supposed to happen at this time. So,
So
yeah.
today, are you totally integrated?
No. Um, I am much more integrated than I've ever been. There's still work to do. I still get triggered. Like yesterday, um, I had a medical appointment that got me triggered, and I was struggling throughout the day, um but for once I was able to share what I was experiencing with my husband. He was actually able to help me, and my part just calmed down and I could sleep. I was like, fantastic. Um, so yeah, I still stuff comes up, but um I'm healed enough that I'm able to do a lot more. I mean, basically for those 6 years, all the energy I had was to try to keep things under control. That was it. And now I'm having to spend less energy on that so that I can spend more energy on being with people and working with people and doing things that I couldn't do before. So that's beautiful. But yeah, there's still room to go. But I can see what I do know is I can see what it is I need to accomplish, because they've shown me how to access my soul level awareness, and I can do it. It actually helps when I'm helping other people. It's easier for me to do. So I think that's why they got this little group for me, so that I could grow. Um, but I know that my work now is just to keep working towards that, embodying that soul level consciousness, so that my sense is there's going to come a point where I'm going to be more consciously aware of who I am as a soul and less identifying with the human.
Mhm.
And then in that process, a lot of this stuff that's still lingering is going to get resolved. Because the interesting thing, two things happened a year ago this month, in front of a Reiki healer who was a channel, and he's a trance channel. And so the first thing that happened was my higher self came in and he could see that. And that was interesting. But then the next week, the Christ came in. He's like, I've seen this before, but not what's happening in front of me right now. And he said, this is really interesting because usually the human steps over as the God energy comes in. But in what I'm seeing right now is integration. You're actually integrated, like becoming one. And what was coming out of my mouth when he said that was, yes, this is where humanity is headed, where you won't lose your human sense of self, but it will integrate with that soul sense of self, as one being. Because what he was seeing was that the Christ was teaching my parts safety, and apparently that's the piece I needed to know, and that's what I need to work towards. So I'm excited about the adventure.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
And for all of us, even if we don't have DID, the whole point of this lifetime is that oneness of ego, higher self, and soul coming together. For me, having gone through this process a number of times, I don't feel like the old person I used to be. I'm the soul. That's who I
Nice,
identify as.
nice, nice.
And it's a beautiful way of being. There's so much peace, bliss, confidence, clarity. It all comes. So you're just doing it a slightly different way,
Yeah,
but we're all on that same journey.
yeah, because that's what we all came here to do.
It's beautiful. So anything else you guys want to talk about, add? Goals? Where are you headed?
I have a question because I finally realized when I got my Kindle out again that I haven't used for a while that I actually have because I was going to buy your little book of meditations and I realized I actually bought it, but it was on my Kindle. I was like, oh, that's where it's at. Is there a specific, can't even talk, specific meditation in there to work more on getting the clarity on what some of the visions are that are being seen during the meditation so that I can kind of like start putting all the pieces together and figure out what I'm trying to tell myself? I
I'd have
kind
to,
of have an inkling, but I'm not really sure.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't recall because it's been a long time. Um, I don't know that they actually tell you how to interpret because they're each an experience of their own. But for the interpretation, I just go to Google and then follow the clues. Then you
Well,
journal, you put it all down, and slowly over time, you will put pieces together because all those disparate pieces come together to give you the bigger picture.
right. But there's got to be a way to get a little bit more clarity where you know, it's like where you're not just seeing an image of trees all the time. Because if you just keep seeing the same thing over and over again, it's not going to help you if you can't figure out why you keep being shown yourself laying on the ground looking up at the sky through trees, or you're hovering in the trees itself. That's not kind of like stuff you can Google, because I've tried.
Mhm.
So there's got to be some way that we can tap in to actually get more clarity on what we're trying to show ourselves,
In
because
that,
they are messages.
yeah, there are definitely messages, and they keep showing it repetitively because there's something you're not getting. So until you get it, you're going to keep seeing it. But if you get to that point where you're saying, oh my gosh, I've seen this so many times, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, show me something else. At that point, you can take the lead and you can decide, like Letty's vision of being in the ocean, her perfect place where she feels so good. So you can, in your imagination, go there. You shift the scene and see what they show you there. You're taking charge. You're not just allowing it to unfold. So that's a different strategy of trying to break through and see what happens.
Okay. We'll try it that way.
I have another thought about that.
Mhm.
You can imagine that someone is there with you and start talking to them, and then see what that person says back to you. It may feel like you're engineering the conversation, because this is what I've been doing since I was a kid. But apparently that's not actually what's happening. You're actually having a conversation with one of your guides or with your higher self. And you can also, in that conversation, you can ask, like, what is it that you're wanting me to see here? And you can also say, hey, let's add some detail so that I can better understand.
Oh, where I'm at, yeah.
Yeah, like
What,
let's add some birds and some bees and see what happens. And yeah,
because one of the things that just came through was that Serge is the one who's taking me to these places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And perhaps Merlin and Medicine Bear as well. Because it's earthy, and your connection with him was very earthy.
Yeah. That happens when you're a shaman. Go figure. I don't know.
And you said you felt him trying to come through.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been trying to come through for a couple weeks now. And Mike even, like I said, Mike even picked up on that, and he's like, you need to listen. And I'm like, so then I discount it because I'm like, what would he want with me now? You know, he's been dead for quite some time, but apparently he
wants to reconnect. And what if you saw his face in the trees and then he emerged from the trees?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, because it may be that he has you in the trees, because that's what are you feeling when you're in the trees?
Peace.
That's it. He's wanting you to access that peace, because that is where he's going to be able to connect with you, is in that peace. So he's trying to get you into a peaceful, still state so that you can be more receptive and open to what he's trying to show you and tell you. Because,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Because
because this energy work that I've been doing with these ladies, a lot of us are more clairsentient, so we're feeling energy. But there are a couple of like, I'm not feeling anything, but I'm seeing stuff. I'm like, that's it. That's how you perceive. That's your main way of perceiving. So go with that. What are you seeing? What are they showing you? But yeah, it's because the cool thing about these invocations is it's all about learning how to receive. You have to become so completely passive that you're just allowing things to come in. And when we let go of that, but I need to know stuff and things need to happen, let go of that and just let things come in, then you start to feel a little more and a little more. And then once you're feeling that state and really being in that state, then things start to come through. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
And you said you're seeing a lot of green. To me, that's heart chakra. So you put the green heart chakra together with the trees. He's trying to get you to open your heart chakra, to move past the wounded child, to step into the confident warrior. Because that's not who you are anymore. You're not the wounded child anymore.
Yeah, no. No. Cool.
Debbie, you were going to say something.
Oh, I pulled up the little book of meditations in answer to the question of which one to listen to. And the one that's coming to me is wearing the mantle of an awakened soul.
Oh,
If
yeah,
that
that's a
if
good.
that one helps. And it has a ballerina and a dancer in it. So I thought that might, I don't know, just a thought.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So, Judy, Letty, either of you have anything else you want to share or say?
Just that this has been immensely helpful. I love hearing about all of your journeys. It's so inspiring, and there's so much that I can take from it. I think something that Laura said really resonated with me about doing step by step what's in front of you today, and then that builds. And sometimes when we think about how much work there is to be done, it can be overwhelming, and I've learned to deal with that, through the meditation practice. But it helps a lot just to be reminded, do what's in front of you, what you're being led to today, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I have been so inspired by your journey, Judy.
Oh,
I'm
thank
wondering,
you.
have you started to write about your experiences?
I have a bit, and I'm motivated now to continue that journey. Where I've started is just wanting to leave something for my children and grandchildren, just to help them synthesize, um, uh, you know, and explain my journey. So I have started that, and I will continue. Thank you, Deborah.
I'd like
That
to
means a lot.
encourage you to share them more widely than just your family, because you've just experienced here how powerful it is hearing the stories.
Oh, yes.
And earlier you
Yes.
were talking about the work you were inspired to do with Gaia, standing on the ley lines, plus your own journey. There's so much wealth that you have to share with the world.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been an amazing journey, and uh, I'm I will do that. I will do that. If there's something in my own experience that can be a benefit to others and help them to increase the light, in their field, and help us all, as we help to prepare for Earth's rise, into higher dimensions as well as our own, then I will certainly do that. Thank you, Deborah. That means a lot to me, and I will enjoy doing that and thinking about it. I feel a sense of purpose and a sense of excitement, and I can feel my guides and angels encouraging me. And I will take that and work with it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Because it's beautiful when you receive it, but it's magnified when you share it, because then other people get the same blessing that you got. And that's the path I've been on. I've been sharing all this stuff that sometimes it felt like it was more personal. But on the other hand, it's so inspirational. How can you not share it?
That's a very good point. And in reviewing my own journal, there were some entries from the very first meditation challenge I did, where I saw different family members in a light of that explained, like, trauma that they had been through, and trying working with bringing healing to that, for them, that touched me all over again. And yes, I'm very inspired, and I hear encouragement even now from my guides and angels to to do it. And I will.
Mhm.
Thank you, Deborah.
What just strikes me here is that by doing this, you are role modeling. We are all role modeling what it means to be an awakened soul. And look around you at all the people who haven't taken that journey yet. So we can inspire them, encourage them to say, wow, I really want what you've got. How do I get that?
That's a very good point. And I've learned so much. I never thought I would be able to access that kind of inspiration and being a conduit for healing. And I've learned so much too from the meditation challenge about not ever comparing myself to not comparing my journey to anyone else's journey. And if I can convey that, even just that alone lifts so much from our hearts, because it takes so much energy when we compare ourselves to other people and think that we're lacking, to get beyond that and to realize that our journey is different from anybody else's journey. It's not better, it's not worse, it's what it is. But if it can be of value to others, then that's my heart's desire.
Yeah. And it's perfect for you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
There's still overlap. So it benefits everybody hearing the stories.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It certainly does. Maybe even on Medium. I'm thinking, where's a venue to share this? I'm not sure that I have a book in me, but maybe some articles. But I'll ask for guidance on that.
Well, you can write the articles on Medium, and then one day, if you are inspired, combine them into a book.
Hmm.
And that's a great way to get it out there, see how people react to the work, and decide what you want to do about it.
Wow.
It's an easy entry point.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Thank you so much. That is that's such a breath of
Everybody
inspiration to
here
me.
is writing on Medium right now, except you.
Well, I need to change that.
Yeah, join us, please. And share in the group to let us know so we can follow and support you.
Thank you so much. I will.
Yeah.
Bless you all.
Thanks for being here. And I'm sorry Letty bounced out. I guess maybe she had something to do. But same goes for you, Letty. If you feel inspired to share the journey, please do. So anything else before we wrap up?
You asked a question of where we go from here, and I keep hearing what I'm going to do, whatever touches my heart and brings me joy. And I think we all need to do that. For so many years, I did things that because I had to, and now I'm doing things for my heart and my joy. And I think that's the way to go. The sooner you learn that, the healthier our whole world will be.
Amen. That's perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? You feel complete? Well, I'm excited to hear from you guys. Post your updates in the group so that we can all support and share and encourage. Much love to you all. Thanks for being here today. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.